The 2025 NFL Draft is coming and gone. The rookies are in minicamp, showing their skills and showing their talents to their respective teams. But we're going to discuss who is underrated and overrated that was drafted high in the NFL Draft this week. So the Hit Squad is going to break it down for you. Let's get into it. Gentlemen, we back. We back.
We back.
Is in the building. We are doing things live and direct. This might be our first time on a live video instead of a live show. Doing a content together. But man, yeah, His Squad is definitely in the building. To my direct, I guess you could say, if you're looking at the screen on my right, will be Young RG, Robert Garcia in the building, Chargers Insider. Below him is Coach Mike Dubb, Commanders Insider. Below me is the real AG, Alice Givens, Chiefs Insider. And I'm your host, Coach Defense, as always, bringing you live and direct the Lockdown Diva Sports Network's finest content on this side of the building and this side of the Mississippi. So we're going to get things popping, and we're going to talk about some rookies today. So each of us have in mind a couple of rookies that we feel like were overhyped, and they might not pan out for their teams, and we're going to give why. And then we got some guys that were underrated. It looks like they might pop off, and they might have been drafted lower than we expect, and they might actually, give you some juice early on that you might not expect. So we want to start off talking about, I guess you can say who's got too much hype, or who has, underhyped, and who might be a bust early on. So yeah, we're going to talk about exactly what the NFL rookie secrets are going to be. Discovering the 2025 NFL rookies and who are overhyped and who's underrated. So who do you think, let us know in the comments who you think might be too hyped or who might be a bust. Who doesn't have the hype, who's going to be that bust out there. We don't know exactly, who's going to be who yet, but we got some ideas. We definitely got some ideas of who's going to be what. So we're going to break it down. So let's start with our list here. Let's start with Coach Mike Dubb. He has some thoughts on guys that were drafted in the first round, and some guys that fell in the first round. We think they weren't going to be as high, drafted as low, and we got a guy that got drafted high. He might not be as high on. So, Coach Mike, you got the floor, man. Tell us about your underrated and overrated picks here.
Yes, sir. So you said it. I got 2 first-round guys. I picked them for a few different reasons. So first, let's start with Malachi Starks. He was a guy, if you would have talked about him, this time last year coming into the college football season, a lot of people rated him in the top 10. Definitely one of the top DBs that we're going to be taking. He's one of the guys that was definitely, coming into the year, like I mentioned before, he was somebody that a lot of people would have had their eyes on. Not only that, but there's also a lot of teams that I felt like could have used a safety and could have went that route early in the first round and even into the mid rounds. For him to drop as far as he did to the Baltimore Ravens, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that he's going to a pretty good situation in Baltimore. Obviously you never hope for injuries, but if you're paying attention, their safety actually just got injured. I think Washington. So, the stars are kind of aligning for him to get the opportunity that he's going to get. We already know he's a baller. We've seen what he did at Georgia. I think this is one of those cases where people just overthought it because he got so much hype so much early on. And it's a year ahead of the scouting process. People have nothing but time to pick you apart and find, different things like that. And I think he was a victim of that. I think people just kind of overthought it. And I feel like he could have been really one of those top, DBs taken. I think about a team like Cincinnati that passed on him. I think Minnesota, that I'm not sure. I think they might have passed on him too. A few other teams that, like I said, could have used a safety, really, really passed on him. And ultimately, he landed in a good spot in Baltimore. Solid defense. We know their pedigree. And I think that's going to play out well for him. I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's going to balance out well with Hamilton playing in the box and him playing over top. That's a great, secondary, a young secondary that can grow and be some problems for quarterbacks for years to come. So I look for him to have, a standout rookie season. I think he's going to be one of those guys where he has a rookie season that people are like, okay, yeah, I can see that. But for some reason, during the whole draft process, he just kind of got overlooked or forgotten about. And that's hard to say for a guy that still went in the first round. But, if you think about where he was talked about early on, similar to some guys that we're going to talk about later, like a Will Johnson and things like that, But I think he was in that same boat where he just is kind of a victim of people just maybe overlooking him a little bit because, he got so hot so early. Then on the other side of things, and I want to, preface this by saying I'm not a hater. I hope that I'm wrong. I don't think anybody, I don't think any of these guys are bad picks. I just look at, for a top 5 pick, you're going to look for certain things. I think Mason Graham does what he does very well before a top 5 pick. And he also didn't land in a bad spot. I mean, he's playing alongside the best D lineman in the game. So that's going to help him out. So I think because of that, we're going to be able to look past a lot of things that we probably wouldn't have been able to look past if he would have gone to like a Jacksonville or a team like that. So it really was a blessing for him that he landed where he landed. I feel like as far as a top 5 pick, there are just some things that I'm looking for, or that I was looking for in the film that I wasn't able to see. Like I said, he does some things that he's really good at. He does those very good. Quick twitch guy. He's going to plug up, stop the run for the most part. Not really going to get too much as far as a pass rush, but once again in Cleveland, you got a guy to handle that. So he's not going to face too many, double teams, anything like that. One thing that I am nervous about is that he's not going to have another stud playing next to him at defensive tackle. He has an end plan to get next to him, but now he's going to have to hold down that middle by himself. So a lot of big bodies he's going to have to face against. So it's going to be interesting to see, how he does with that. We've heard so much. I don't know if I've ever heard as much talk about short arms in a process as I had this draft. Will Campbell and him and these two guys. I don't know what it is, but
and they still went top 5.
Yeah, he still went top 5. So, like I said, he did what he did very well. He did play in a stacked defense, of course, in Michigan. Cleveland he has some dogs right next to him. Like I said, he has the best defensive lineman to play with next to him. But as far as another dog in that middle, it's going to be interesting to see if he can hold it down by himself. Interesting to see if he can really clog up that middle like he does without having all the help that he did at Michigan. So I hope that I'm wrong, but I just don't see a top 5 production from him, at least early on right now. And part of that, like I said, is because of where he's at. He won't need to do that, but top 5, you're looking for, perennial all-pro type things like that. I don't know if I'm going to see that in Mason Graham.
Okay. Not a bad take at all. We talk backstage about his conditioning in camp too. That's the thing.
Already can't hold down his lunch.
Already coming out.
Right. Yeah. And you try not to bring that up because I get it. It's camp. We can't base it off of a 20-second clip.
Oh,
at the same time.
I just thought it was funny. It's more like an outlier moment. Mason Graham didn't cut his teeth at all that time in Michigan dominating college football, but by being out of shape. So I'm just
absolutely
joking when I say that. But definitely funny to say when you have him on your overrated list that happened as well. It's kind of kind of coincidental, but it's still funny in the same right. But yeah,
absolutely.
I see what you're saying. Funny, that he was traded down for. Well, to get anyway. Cleveland traded down, got that extra first rounder for next year. And still was able to grab him. So I guess it might be a wash in as far as what they invested, but I agree with you. Him, being that one guy in the middle is going to be an issue for him, and he's going to see a lot of double teams. That's for sure. They're going to try to isolate Miles and double team him and just get downhill. So, and they lost JLK for the year. He's not going to be playing because of that neck injury he sustained hitting Derrick Henry. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he does early on. It might be some growing pains there. I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah.
And not to mention too, like he'd have the, like you mentioned, coach the trade down. So like if Travis Hunter goes to Jacksonville and balls, he's going to be even more hated by Cleveland fans. They'd be like, damn, look what we could have had. So we got this stubby armed, puker in the middle of our D line here.
Puker. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think whoever the Browns took with that 5th pick,
that was going to happen regardless.
Yeah, that pressure was going to be on him regardless.
But it needs to be noted. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, true. But like I said, the Cleveland Browns, one thing they did not need was another corner.
No.
They had 3 good ones already, so you just had to address other needs in other areas. I'm sorry.
If they would have taken Travis Hunter, they're taking him to be a wide receiver first and a corner second.
Right, and I would argue that that's not his best skill set.
They probably agreed.
Yeah, there you go.
And they did make out pretty well with with their picks and everything. So
they had a great draft.
They won the draft with that move alone.
yeah, absolutely.
Big facts.
Because that pick's probably going to be top 5 again next year.
You just might be right.
Oh man.
Oh man.
And their pick will probably be top 5 again next year.
Top 5 picks you guaranteed to handle last somebody, right?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man.
Like that. I like that. That's good stuff. That is good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Malachi Starks and Mason Graham is underrated and overrated for Coach Mike Dub. So that we'll see how the things shake out. We'll revisit this as the season goes on, of course. Moving on to Young RG's picks. He got some interesting ones here. I definitely love one. I'm not sure I love the other one, but we're gonna let him break it down. Tell me about your underrated, overrated here, Young RG.
So I'll start with the underrated. We'll start with the good. I'm gonna go with Emeka Egbuka. And I guess a little spoiler for both these guys. Both my picks have absolutely nothing to do with talent. I believe both these guys are incredibly talented. Egbuka was a probably top 2, top 3 wide receiver in this year's draft. I think only people had him under Tet at this point.
That was it.
And then James Pierce would have been the number 1 edge rusher taken, if not for his character concerns. And I'll get into that, obviously, when we talk about the overrated. But as far as Emeka Egbuka goes, I think the only thing that's going to be holding him back this season will be the fact that he's obviously behind Chris Godwin and Mike Evans on the depth chart. 2 perennial Pro Bowlers. And I mean, Mike Evans with that, what is it, 10 years are we at now? Or I don't even know what it's. 11. Yeah, I don't even know what we're at, but 10, 11 years of 1,000 yards. Yeah, too many. Basically, he's had 1,000 yards every year he's played in the league. He's had some pretty good quarterbacks, I'll say, but still. Hey man, he had Brady, he has Baker right now, and as much flack as we give Jameis.
Who do you have before Brady, though?
Well, he had Jameis.
That first 5 years.
Yeah, listen. Jameis, for all the interceptions he throws, the man will not let his wide receivers down. He's gonna give
you 30 and 30.
Yeah, he'll give you 30 and 30. Exactly.
He'll
give you an ESPN special. So yeah, I think Egbuka is probably going to be overlooked a lot this season. Just based on the guys that are ahead of him. But I truly think that, and I'm not even, never wish ill will, knock on wood for him. I will never wish injury on anybody. However, just given the injury history of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans is, of course, getting up there in age, I almost feel like they took this guy, obviously for the future, but he's almost an insurance policy this season because a lot of people would argue he was the most NFL-ready wide receiver coming out of the draft. I mean, he could do everything. The guy's got 4.45 speed. He's great hands. Can get open, is a QB's best friend. There's just not a lot of bad you can say about Egbuka. So although I think career-wise, he's obviously not underrated, this year in particular, he might be underrated by some just because of the veterans ahead of him. But I would not be surprised one bit if he breaks out this year, if somebody goes down early in the year or at any point in the year and we see him, be a main factor for them. And now moving over on to James Pierce. Once again, this is not a guy I am flacking on for talent at all. I said it to start. I think he would have been the number 1 edge rusher in this draft class if it were not for his character concerns. And obviously the Falcons picked him up with the first, they traded back into the first round with the Rams to select him. He was the 2nd edge rusher that they took in this year's draft with Jalen
Walker. You're right, Jalen Walker.
Jalen Walker. Okay, yeah. I wanted to say Jalen Carter, and I was like, no, that's that's an Eagles lineman.
Different bird.
Yeah, different bird. Yeah, exactly.
Different character issues.
Right. There you go.
That's probably why I was thinking of him.
Right.
But yeah, so I think given the fact that they had already taken an edge rusher in the first round, trading back into the first round to take another edge rusher, and then you take the guy with an insane amount of character concerns. I just think that although they need edge rushers badly, a lot of draft scouts took him off their boards completely just based on, the issues that he had at Tennessee, at Texas.
No, Tennessee, you're right.
Tennessee. Gee, why am I second guessing myself? At Tennessee. A lot of them were critiquing his like on-field attitude, his on-field drive. A lot of people were saying that although all that talent is there, he may just never live up to it, just given the fact that he's not as invested in football as a lot of people might think he is. And I always like to say that where you get drafted plays a much bigger role as to when you got drafted. And I don't know how he'll be in Atlanta. I know the nightlife in Atlanta is, the honeys are out.
ATL.
So ATL, man. Yeah. So
snipers and trained assassins out there. Yeah, absolutely right.
Nothing against ATL. Love ATL, but I just don't know how a player that has already shown character concerns in college going into that kind of environment, what that'll bring for him. He's obviously a first round rookie, so he gets that quote unquote big contract. A lot of times we see rookies get that money and they never show up. They peace out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, DNF. So obviously, I hope that's not the case. I don't say all of this by saying, "Oh yeah, I hope James Pierce is going to fail." Obviously, I would like to be proven wrong. Just everything that he has shown so far. Oh, excuse me, that he has shown so far doesn't really tell me that he will. As Unc used to say, money doesn't change you; it just makes you more of what you are. And if that is the kind of person James Pierce is, this money that he's going to be getting being in Atlanta is certainly not going to help his cause. So I hope I get proven wrong. I hope this dude is a perennial all-pro, Pro Bowler, but that is my take for overrated.
Okay. I think we might need to do a video one day about character concerns and how that's so arbitrary, because they don't say exactly what the character concerns are. They just say he has them.
Well, him in particular, yeah. They said it was on-field stuff.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
So
interesting. But when I see him on tape, though, you cut that tape on and mute that audio. It's stellar. It's stellar. So we'll see how things go, man. Him on opposite side of Jalen Walker and Arnold Ebiketie should be a good one for Atlanta. And I think Raheem Morris is a player's coach. So I think that he should resonate with James, but we'll see.
That could be to his detriment.
Well, yeah, that's true too. We'll see how things shake out, but yeah, I'm interested to see how both these careers blossom in the first couple of years. So yeah, we'll see how things roll. All right, so let's move on to the Real AG's picks. He got some interesting ones here too. I'm really interested to see how he feels about these two gentlemen, because I think we can all agree that one guy is definitely underrated, but another guy who's was pretty much even keel for most people's draft coverage. He's viewed as overrated in his eyes. So Real AG, please take the floor, sir, and tell us how you feel about these two gentlemen.
Yeah, so I guess inverse of what young RG did, I'll start with the bad first, get that out of the way, get all those vibes out. But yeah, my overrated guy is Kelvin Banks Jr., the left tackle out of Texas that the New Orleans Saints took at number 9 overall in the first round. And, part of it is just the value of where they took him versus the player they're getting from me as to why it's overrated. Like, obviously New Orleans has had offensive line issues, really since Armstead left. That only became more prevalent, once Ramczyk retired. But I think we've seen him use a first-round pick on a tackle these last three straight years or 3 times in the last 4 years. Either way, taking Trevor Penning, taking Fuaga, and now Kelvin Banks. And
that is 3 in a row. That is
3 in a row. And to me, I mean, Kelvin Banks is basically like drafting Trevor Penning again, but just a guy with better pedigree and college football background. Trevor Penning came from Northern Iowa. This guy came from Texas. So we're going to give him a little more credence with that. But overall, I mean, they're the same type of tackle. Big maulers in the run game, not really carrying those finesse traits you need to be an effective pass blocker in the NFL. So that's kind of where my questions lie with Banks. I mean, we know the Saints are in for a pretty bad year overall. And so maybe they thought, we're going to suck anyways. Let's just try to take offensive line and see what we can bolster. But to me, when you're picking that high in the draft and you see Will Campbell and Mimbu already go, like, let's not just burn a pick on a guy just for the sake of taking that position group, because you already, I mean, you got the pass block issues, and then on top of that, I mean, he was a bona fide first-round pick for any expert reviewing, pre-draft coverage, but it always came with the caveat of he may be moved into guard and may become a pretty effective starter at guard in the NFL. And to me, that's not someone you really want to take in the top 10 to hope, bookend your offensive line and protect whoever the hell's going to be running the offense for you. So that's kind of where all the overrated comes in, just where they took him, the amount of pressure that's just going to be facing him, and the fact that the Saints repeatedly take a tackle in the first round and it does not pan out, pending Fuaga. That's the only, but I think we could call Trevor Penning a bust at this point. They thought they got their stalwart left tackle. And again, he was the same type of thing. If you watch him in this, Senior Bowl, you're like, damn, this dude just got away with just being bigger than people at UNI and using, like hip dropping people at left tackle. And I said it from day one, like he's not gonna work at left tackle in the NFL. And they tried it, and he's started right tackle last year, and that's kind of the same path I see Banks taking here. Either he moves to right tackle or he's moved to guard. But yeah, it's just the fact of where they got him, what they're getting, and where the franchise is situated. I think they could have kind of bolstered their team elsewhere and gotten more in return for where they were picking.
That's a good one. They didn't. Tackle didn't go again in the first round until the 29th.
Till the end.
That's right.
And I mean, both of those guys, Simmons had injury concerns, but Connerly's Connerly arguably should have been taken 9 if Saints were legit in on tackle, in my opinion. But
okay,
hey, so that's the bad. We got that out of the way.
Right.
Clear the air.
Time for praise.
But my underrated guy, and this may have been a little bit of low hanging fruit, and the dude that was almost consistently mocked, I think, in the top 15 of any mock draft anyone did, and he fell into the second round. But yeah, Will Johnson, the corner out of Michigan, is my underrated player or rookie for this year. Obviously, like I said, he definitely fell due to injury concerns. I think I don't remember what the specific injury is, but he missed the last half of his senior year, was unable to do the combine, unable to test his pro day. So, I mean, you knew it was going to take a little bit of a dip, and obviously more teams than not, bought into the concerns of it. But, I mean, if you look at what he did at Michigan, mind you, a national championship winning team that he was on, I mean, dude was a stud at corner. Led, even only playing half the season last year, and it's not a gaudy number, but he led the team in interceptions with 2 when playing half of the year, and he owns a school record again at Michigan with a pretty storied history of some pretty damn good defensive backs. Holds a school record for 3 interceptions returned for a touchdown in his career. So I mean, you're looking at a guy that was been productive in college outside of the one injury that did hamper the last year he was there. But you look at a guy that's, I mean, a huge, big, fluid corner with pretty good ball hawking skills that is instinctive and has ability to jump routes and jump the pass and do something with the ball when he gets in his hands. I mean, that is all the tools that I would say any defensive coordinator or front office is looking for when they want to add to their secondary. And then you mentioned, look at the fact that where he went to Arizona, a team that desperately needed to bolster their secondary and has a pretty good defense, known to create those turnover potential in Gannon's scheme. I think that's a perfect pairing. I think, we're going to talk about Will Johnson as a potential steal of the draft. You're like, damn, how could he fall to the second round for what he's doing?
It's interesting too because his injury history is not very troubling to me.
No, but
2023 he had a knee injury in the spring. That was in the spring in practice, wasn't even in the regular season, and then he had a shoulder injury in 2024. So, I mean, lower leg injuries are more damaging to me for skill players than upper body injuries are. Outside of pectoral muscles and triceps, right? But even still, those are things you can definitely bounce back from and don't hamper your production. So I'm not sure at all why he had the injury tag or injury bug concern on him with that type of injury history. I can understand what a guy I'm going to talk about where he was injured every damn year of his career practically. You would have injury concern about him.
Sometimes it's just a recency thing, you know,
Yeah,
of
it could
like
be,
that's.
yeah.
I mean, like I personally experienced that. I played football for 16 years. I was only hurt once, seriously, in my, in college. Tore my ACL. Got a new offensive line coach, and he was like, "Yeah, all I know about is you get hurt a lot." And I was like, "Bro,
What?
it's one time. Like, yeah, it was bad, but it was one time.
in my life. Like,
Yeah." But I mean, that was at that level. So imagine when millions of dollars are at stake. They're like, "Oh, we can't do this." Like, this guy was hurt. And I think what it was too is he hurt the shoulder, and then I think to missing out on the combine and pro day was a foot thing. So like he did
yeah,
something
right,
training for that,
right,
which I
right.
mean, that's gonna knock off like
All
10,
of a
20% of
sudden
the
he's
teams. They're gonna be
brittle.
like, "Whoa."
Yeah, all of a sudden he's brittle now. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. Yeah, well, we'll see. But yeah, I definitely like those picks, man. And I foreshadowed that Trevor Penny might actually move into guard because their left guard needs some assistance. So
That
we
whole
might see
team needs some assistance,
but that's true too. But
FEMA come in, man.
that's tough to say.
That's bad. I know. That was a very cynical pairing there. I should not have done that.
Too soon.
It was too good. Too soon.
20 years.
Come
20 years
on.
is too soon.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was like 20 years ago, but okay.
Too soon.
They've come back. They're back.
That's funny. That's funny. Okay.
I think with Will Johnson too, he's just another case of like the tape don't lie. Like just throw on the tape and just watch this guy and
yeah.
You're like, what?
Yeah. Because Robert, you and I were talking about it, how the Chargers might take him because he fell so far.
If he would have fallen to us in the second round, I have no doubt in my mind we would have taken him.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how Will Johnson does, but I'm definitely rooting for him because I think I like the kid. I really do.
Same.
Really do. All right. So wrap it up here with my picks. I got a couple of guys that are on my list, and we just talked about the Saints, and I'm going to start with the bad like AG did. We get Tyler Shuck out the way.
Really kick them while they're down.
Right. I'm just going to get them on out the way. It's funny because I got a really good friend of mine, and he's a Saints fan, and I don't want to do it to him. I know he watches the pod all the time, so I don't really want to, kick him while he's down and really kick their back in, but we're going to have to just be honest in here. And there's all this hype about Tyler Shuck and how he went ahead of, quarterbacks, that might actually play like Milroe or Sanders is wild to me. And now he falls into the role where he might actually be the starter because Derek Carr retired. Yeah, I think he's completely and utterly overrated. I mean, he's has the injury history a mile long, bounced around different schools, never really wowed anybody, with all this hype about the Brock Purdy arc and all this type of jazz, saying he might be he looks really good on tape, when you analyze his throws and things of that nature. But I don't know. I don't really see it, in my personal opinion, because he doesn't, athletically and just skill set wise, just his makeup doesn't wow me. His arm doesn't wow me. His mobility is better than I thought, in all honesty. But that the problem is people that's injury prone, being mobile is probably a detriment to you because you're going to subject yourself to more hits. So you subject yourself to more hits by running. And we just talk about the O-line being bad. If he runs and he gets hit, we might be calling for Jake Hayner or Spencer Rattler sooner than we think. So, and just think about what I said there. Let that sink in. So it's rough sledding in New Orleans, man. Cole, I'm sorry, man. I'm not.
Not naming him.
He knows that's my boy. He knows that. He knows that's my guy, man.
First step is acceptance, brother.
Exactly. Just gonna be a rough one for y'all.
If Spencer Rattler's the answer, I don't know. Want to know what the question is?
Exactly. So yeah, it's rough sledding New Orleans. I'm just sorry to say, and I hate that that Kellen Moore has to deal with that from day one, but. Yeah, you took the job, buddy. You kind of knew what the writing on the wall was. So we'll see how things go. But I'm not high on Tyler Shuck like some of the analysts on national media are for sure.
Hey, Kellen Moore's got Brandon Staley for that defense, so don't worry. That side of the ball is going to be peachy.
Double whammy.
Oh yeah, it'll be chilling.
Woo, they're gonna see. Arch man, here we go.
I was gonna say, just go ahead and sign Arch now.
Yeah, just go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. So,
talk about 30 for 30. That team might average 3 points a game and 30 points allowed.
They're never gonna give us some points in Stanley Carter plays. That's for sure. Freaking revolving door. But I'm not gonna cry for spilled milk. So yes. Anyway, but yeah, I'm not too high on Tyler Shuck and being a second round pick and being the franchise quarterback for the Saints. Just not ready for it. Not at all. But in better news, moving over to Darian Porter. 6'4", 200-pound corner from his last school was Iowa State. He played a school before that, but I love this kid's makeup. I love his athleticism. I love everything that he does. I envision him being somebody, for a quarterback that's going to be a problem of throwing over a wall, because his height, his stature, his leaping ability, and his speed and agility is a problem. And I'm very surprised that he failed as far as he did. I really would have taken him behind Maxwell Harrison if I'm picking a corner, in all honesty. When the Bills took Maxwell Harrison, I said Darian Porter should be the next one off the board. I mean, he checks so many boxes for me, especially if a team is playing heavy zone. He's just going to be too problematic to throw around. Again, like I said, you're 6'4", you're 200 pounds, you move like lightning, you run a 4.3 40, you jump over 40 inches. I mean, the kid, and he's super physical. At the point of attack and with wide receivers and coverage as well. So you can't run past him. You can't throw around him. I don't see any downside here. And I think the Raiders scored big when they got him. I'm looking at the AFC West and the cornerbacks we got to deal with now between Porter, Jahad Barron, who they picked up for the Broncos, of course, Trent McDuffie and all this kind of jazz. That's why I said it was such a need to get a bunch of wide receivers that can beat man coverage, because these guys are going to do a lot of that because they can. They just had the skill set to do it. So I love Darian Porter's game. I really think he's highly underrated. And I do believe that he's going to be a star for the Raiders, and he could end up being the number one corner, in all honesty. So I think that, especially with the guys they have now, I think he let Nate Hobbs and a few others go. So I do believe that Darian Porter is going to be a stud for them for sure. And I actually called the kid from Maryland they drafted 2 years ago. It's been good. He's going to be good. And Darian Porter is going to be another one. So I'll give the Raiders credit for one thing. They know how to draft corners. Sure. They're getting good value for where they're drafting them too, because they're not getting overspending with the first, high picks, but they're still getting really good guys. So I definitely love Darian Porter's game and what he's going to bring to them. And he's going to be a problem for the AFC West opponents, that's for sure. Just got to call a spade a spade. So it is what it is. But yeah, so those are my two guys, Darian Porter and Tyler Shuck. I'm high on one, not on the other. And we'll see how these guys go, man. But you guys got any closing remarks? Any callbacks? Some guys who we reviewed and who we broke down? Anything I want to add before we get out of here?
Just a caveat. I mean, I know we said underrated. I know for me, it's not that I think that the guys are going to be bad players, and I don't think any of us think that any of them are going to be bust or anything like that. Like, they'll probably still be good, solid NFL players. It's just there's so much hype that comes around during combine season and Senior Bowl and all that stuff like that people lose their minds because they just want to be on record as saying, hey, I got this guy, or I saw this guy, and all those things like that. So I really think that overall this is a pretty good rookie class, especially where people landed. I think a lot of them landed in places where they could really thrive. So I'm looking forward to all of them really coming in and shaking up the NFL, and hopefully they'll be a historic class.
I like it. I would argue that all our underrated players landed in good spots.
Absolutely.
I think everyone we call as underrated landed in good spots. You talk about Megabuka landing as a primary slot guy for the Bucs. That's crazy.
That's amazing.
Baker's like, thank you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All of them, though. That's part of the underrated aspect.
Absolutely. Being underrated is kind of a good thing. Like, just don't talk about me. I'll go somewhere where I actually could be used.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did want to point out, I think it's funny, we were talking about Will Johnson and his injury concerns, and you look at Tyler Shuck, who legit only played 1 year being healthy, and they're like, hey, pick 30, whatever, here you go.
Right. Yeah, sign them up.
They were looking for anybody but Shador at that time.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're gonna regret that too. I was gonna let you know that, New Orleans.
I think the Saints the Saints scouting staff were a couple years late. They're like, oh yeah, there's a really good QB from Louisville. We should go get him in the second round.
He ain't the same guy though.
Ain't the same guy at all.
Not at all.
I mean, there's one clip of Shuck trying to evade pressure and being like, I know you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Everyone's seen it. That's all you need to see.
Okay.
It's just sad, man.
That's all you need to
It's
see.
just sad.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we just throwing dirt on the Saints' grave right now. I just want to let y'all know.
Yeah, we have to. I mean,
They did it to themselves.
pseudo title of the video,
You want to talk about a team that has a
Just
guaranteed
drag
top
the
5
Saints
pick?
through the goals hour.
I bet house money the Saints are picking top 5 next year.
Hey, that's a good bet, Robert. You're the bet man in this pod. That's a good bet.
Man, I'm sorry, Saints fans. Cover your ears and close your eyes. There ain't nothing to root for in New Orleans right now, man.
I'm sorry.
Losing. That's what they root for.
Right.
Give us Arch.
Exactly. Man. Give us Arch. Take it for Arch.
Yeah, they're looking at the other teams in the division. They're like, yeah, get better. Please, right. Please get better.
Please play better. Please win games. Please win games. We're not winning anything. Averaging 2 field goals a game.
They're calling the other GMs right now. Hey, how's it looking over there? Think you guys are going to be pretty good? Want my playbook?
Right.
The draft ended. They're already on call. They're like, hey, so we got these 2026 picks. So we're trying to
call Henry Winkler to coach the sideline for the water boy. Just call the coach for the water boy. He'll do it. Man. He'll do it for you. He'll do it for you. All right, so we're done kicking the Saints back in for now 30 minutes. And we're going to get out of here. But if you're looking for the gentleman, you're looking for the squad on Instagram or Twitter, here, their information here. Coach Mike Dub, Alex on both IG and Twitter. Robert's on Twitter. If you're looking for us as a podcast group, here's links for the Lockdown Diva Sports Network. On every platform you can name, we're Lockdown Diva Sports on most and Lockdown Defense on Twitter. LockdownDivaSports@gmail.com. Please hit that subscribe button. Let the algorithm and the YouTube gods know we're out there. We're going to go to higher heights and deeper depths. But until next time, as always, we drop content each and every day, Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock. This video will be out during that time, and we'll be back with more content as the week progresses. But until then, that is Young RG, that is Coach Mike Dub, that is the real AG Alex Givens, and I'm Coach Defense. Until next time, we'll see you when we see you. Step up and lock it down.